The whole story? Well, the answer to that might just be found in a simple story.
Our story starts with a character who, on the surface, seems like he has it all, a total genius, but with one massive hidden problem.
So, picture this, a kid with a mind so sharp, so capable, that his dream of becoming a doctor seemed like a done deal to everyone. His potential felt absolutely limitless.
But here's the catch. Despite being so intelligent, his mind was a complete mess. Every single time he tried to sit down and study, his focus was just gone. A phone notification here, a quick scroll through his feed there, a thought drifting off into some random daydream. Does that sound at all familiar?
And this was his personal motto, that dangerous little phrase so many of us whisper to ourselves. He truly believed his natural talent was a safety net that would catch him at the last minute. He figured he could always catch up, later. But, as we're about to find out, later has a nasty habit of arriving with a pretty brutal reality check. This is that moment where raw potential slams headfirst into a hard truth. Now, this wasn't just any old test. This was the exam, the one that would pretty much decide his entire future. And despite all his procrastination, the day of reckoning was finally here. The result was a total shock. He failed. And the part that really stung? His classmates, the ones who maybe didn't have his raw talent, but who put in the steady, consistent work, day in and day out, they all passed. In that single moment of failure, all his arrogance just evaporated, and he finally understood a huge lesson. His brilliant mind was like a high-performance engine, but without the fuel of discipline, it was totally useless. It couldn't take him anywhere. So he hit rock bottom, but instead of just staying there, he went looking for a real solution. His search led him to a wise mentor who was about to teach him the real secret of true focus. This was the one desperate question he asked his new teacher. And it's the core of the problem, isn't it? How do you actually get control of your own attention when it feels like the whole world is trying to steal it? The mentor's approach was pretty unconventional. No textbooks, no long lectures. He just took him to an archery range. A bow, an arrow, and a target. It was a simple physical test that was meant to expose a deep mental weakness. So the boy takes his shot, and he misses, badly. When the mentor asked him what he saw when he aimed, he listed everything around the target. The trees, the sky, the birds chirping. But the master, he only saw one thing, the target. The boy's issue wasn't his aim, it was his attention. And right there, we get this really powerful definition of what true focus is. It's not about trying harder, it's about seeing less. It's the deliberate act of cutting out all the noise and all the distractions until only your objective is left. So now that he finally understood what focus was, he had to learn how to actually build it. The mentor gave him a simple, practical toolkit, 4 golden rules for discipline. And these 4 rules are the whole game. First, you have to actively control your thoughts. When your mind wanders off, you gently but firmly bring it back. Second, create a routine. Your brain thrives on order, so give it fixed times for work and for rest. Third, be ruthless with distractions. Your phone, other tabs, whatever. Get them completely out of sight. And finally, you have to remember that this is a daily thing. Discipline isn't a switch you just flip on. It's a muscle you have to build up day after day. So armed with these rules, the boy started to change his life. But as anyone who has ever tried to build a new habit knows, it's rarely easy at the beginning. And that's just the honest truth. The first few days, maybe even weeks, were a constant fight. His brain pushed back. But he stuck with the rules, and slowly, almost so you wouldn't notice it at first, things started to change. His focus became sharp, like a tool. The transformation was just incredible. He went from being able to study for just a few minutes here and there to being able to get into hours of deep, focused work. With his focus finally working with his intelligence, his performance just went through the roof. And this was the ultimate payoff. The very next time he sat for that exam, the outcome couldn't have been more different. He didn't just scrape by, he won first place, proving that his new, disciplined mind had finally unlocked all of his hidden potential. So let's wrap all of this up with a final, powerful lesson from the mentor, a metaphor that I think perfectly captures this entire journey. Think about that for a second. An untrained mind is like a wild horse. It's powerful, sure,
but it's also chaotic. It will pull you in 1,000 different directions, reacting to every little thing, and ultimately, it'll drag you far away from your goals.
But that same mind, when you train it, when you teach it discipline and focus, becomes your greatest ally. It turns into this powerful force that can carry you with speed and precision straight to wherever you want to go. And that leaves us with one final thought. We all have our own wild horses we're dealing with: procrastination, distraction, self-doubt. So the real question is for you, what's the first one you're going career that we don't even love? Maybe just to make our parents happy or to meet some kind of expectation. Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, but it's a big one. It's because we've started to think that education is just a series of tests to pass. But that's not what it is at all. It's really a journey to figure out who you are and what you're meant to do. If you ignore that inner voice, you're never going to feel truly successful. And that brings me to a story about a young man who from the outside looked like he had it all figured out. But on the inside, he was feeling this immense pressure to live a life that just wasn't his. So picture this. This kid grows up on a huge, beautiful horse farm. I mean, he was basically set for life. But after high school, he was just completely lost. The textbooks, the classes, the whole university path everyone expected him to take, none of it sparked anything in him. The problem wasn't a lack of opportunity, it was a total lack of direction. Now, you'd probably expect his father to be pretty disappointed, right? Maybe even angry. But instead, his dad, who was a pretty wise guy, did something completely unexpected. He didn't give him a lecture, he sent him on a quest. The father just hands him a note with 3 names and 3 addresses. He tells him, your mission is to go visit these people, find out their secret to success, and while you're at it, figure out why everyone calls me the man with the golden leg. So, the young man sets off. And his first 2 visits were to people who, if you just looked at their school records, you'd think they were total failures. But their lives? Yeah, they told a very, very different story. The first person he meets is this famous national athlete. And the athlete tells him straight up, look, I was 38th out of 40 kids in my class. I hated studying, but you know what I loved? To run. And it didn't happen overnight. It took me 5 years of grinding it out, training every single day, just to win my very first medal. So then he goes to the second address. It's a guy who owns this huge, successful restaurant chain. And his story is almost the same. He says, I was 39th out of 40. My only real interests were eating and talking to people. So he leaned into it. He spent years just perfecting his own recipes and eventually built this entire empire from that one simple passion. Okay, so the last address on the list belonged to the person who was number 1 in their class, the valedictorian. The young man is thinking, all right, this has to be the most successful person of them all. But, oh, he was in for a huge surprise. The difference was absolutely stunning. The so-called failures, the guys who ranked at the bottom of the class, they became masters of their craft and found incredible success. But the top student? He was living a simple, ordinary life. And his advice was actually a warning. He said, I knew a little bit about everything, but I never became an expert in anything. Don't make my mistake. Don't scatter your energy all over the place. But the top student had one last, crucial piece of the puzzle to share. He was the one who could finally explain his father's mysterious nickname. He revealed that the young man's father came in last, 40th out of 40 students. Dead last, the absolute bottom of the class. He explained that people called his father the man with the golden leg because years ago he'd had a terrible riding accident that completely shattered his leg. He could have just given up, but instead of letting that disaster define him, he poured every single ounce of his focus into the one thing he had left, his horse farm. That singular, unbreakable focus, born from a moment of crisis, is what made him the most successful man in the entire region. That is the golden leg. The young man went home, and obviously his perspective was totally changed forever. But this story isn't just about him, it's about us. The lesson of the golden leg is really a blueprint for building a life with real purpose. The path is actually pretty clear. First, you have to find that one thing you truly love, something that doesn't feel like a chore. Second, don't just skim the surface. Go deep, learn it inside and out, and become an expert. And third, practice it with the goal of mastery. That's how you build your very own golden leg. Your future isn't written on your report card. It's waiting inside you.
And if you don't understand yourself and follow your own passion, you'll always just be a copy of someone else. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. The people who bravely walk their own path are the ones who pave new roads for everyone else. The question is, will you be that person?